It doesn't sound as good in English as it does in Japanese.
And that's for most things. Hello and welcome. My name is Alex Gonzalez, and with you today is my good old friend J.E.
Hey, that's me.
And please remember that we are not game devs. How are you doing today, Jay?
I'm doing all right. I'm honestly pretty tired, but I had a pretty good couple of days off, and then I'm doing evening shifts again. So we'll see how that goes. I'm working 5 to 11 now, so pretty late.
I think you'll enjoy that more. But those are
We'll
not the
see.
jobs that we are talking about today. Today we are creating something new. Today, every week, we are not game devs. We create a new, exciting video game idea that we have always wanted to play, but do not have any knowledge or know how to create the wonderful experience that are video games. And today is my turn to present We Are Not Game Devs 176th IP. And we're going to begin with this concept. You are a person who goes in for surgery to get an implant. You got hit by a car while crossing the street, and they donate organs to you. And you recover, and as you go about your daily life, you start to have memories from these organs. And you find out that your organs were actually from a killer who had killed himself, but the cops can never figure out his crimes or what happened. So you're getting all these memories, and you choose to investigate to figure out where the killers, where he stashed not only his crime scenes, but you try to learn more and see if you can help. And along the way, somehow, at a crime scene, you end up leaving DNA, which is tied to the killer and yours. So now there is a special detective who's also trying to track you down. So you have to prove your innocence while also proving that the killer is dead and move on from there. I thought it would be a cool thing where you get visions from the killer while trying to figure that out, while also trying to avoid, and kind of like a mystery game. What do you think?
Yeah, very cool. I mean, I love these types of games. These are my
animals,
games.
no food, no no shonenness to it.
Yeah, but I love solving me a mystery. I dig it. So the guy who kills you, or not kills you, the guy who hits you with his car is the killer on the.
I don't know how we do it.
Thing.
I want you to have organ transplants, and these organs have a memory from that's in your body, and it makes you remember or somehow makes you want to do things like they're like from a murderer's or killer's organ. So it makes you want to go out and do that, or some kind of thing around that where it doesn't completely take you over, but you have these memories and you have these impulses.
So what's going to happen is, right, the game opens, fucking the name of the studio comes up on the screen, and like it fades in, fades out into a night sky, roll down, and then vroom, near, 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 near. It's like a fucking car going, and then police chasing after him, and then cut. There's a guy just, I don't know, walking on the street. Let's say the main character. What do you think he does for a living? Why is he out late at night walking? Maybe he's just getting drunk at the bar that Friday night.
I was going to say, if we want to make him relatable, what if he's a bartender? That way, we can even make it where if he has these impulses to kill, he can select from his patrons.
Or the people who frequent his bar for some reason are attached to some of the murders, and they're like, you could question them and stuff, and then maybe there's like a try to get them drunk enough so they could tell you stuff, or don't. If you ask them too much too soon, they'll like get angry and leave. Anyway, he's coming off a shift. He throws that stupid white towel over his shoulder, and he's like,
he has a half apron on.
Yeah. He's like taking it off and like lighting a cigarette, and he like stands in the middle of the crosswalk on an empty street, 12 a.m. Later than that, 3 a.m.
And then as that's happening, so I want there to be that kind of video, the videography, where as he's walking, doing his normal thing is very calm. It'll cut back to the chase and this other guy like steering, looking over his back, running away until the two collide.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I think when you go back to the chase, the killer is more like calm, collected, and he's like looking around. He sees his target, guy lighting a cigarette in the middle of the street. Because I think this is all part of the killer's plan or whatever, right? Because like he's killing himself not to. Because you said he's killing himself to like get away from the crimes, not so much try to get away at all, right?
Yeah, just to have the control, like so that the cops never really find out or he doesn't seek punishment. It's all a game to him and he's ending it.
Yeah, so he sees his target, last victim for his
We
crimes.
could
He's going
even
high speed, slams right into the bartender.
hold that thought right there. We could even have it where the killer knows that they might implant his organs into the guy because he's experimented on his victims and implanted their organs into him and felt their impulses. So he knows that this is a thing.
Sure, we could have him be weird and creepy like that. Like that's his like thing that he likes to do. He's a fucking Cypher from Heroes. Skylar, I mean. But I think what happens is, boom, crash. Bartender nearly close to dying. Killer is dead. They get to the hospital. Turns out, same blood type, same height, same race, same everything. Like these guys are like.
So do you want to
same
make
person.
this like this game happens in Japan then? Just because,
Oh yeah,
like,
just so like it's just all one.
Yeah, because
we could explain
the
race
population, yes, the population's much more.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be
homogeneous.
Japan. Let's make this take place in somewhere cool and unexpected, like I don't know, fucking Cuba or something. You know,
you know, I mean, they have good medical doctors, I guess.
But it's just like, okay, look, he is an organ donor. He's a killer, sure, but. It says on his license.
They take his license out and they're like, there's a fucking heart.
Donor. Yeah. And they're perfect match. Emergency. Get it in there. And they get his like even the targets that this dude killed were the same blood type and everything as well. And so like pristine yes. organs or whatever in this dude's body. Like apparently his body is just perfect. And he like took the organs, the best organs from his victims and like replaced his organs with them. You know what I mean? So he's just perfect. And so all these perfect organs get transplanted to the main character.
I like this because now he's not only going to have the memories of the victims, so he's going to see the killings from the victim's point of view, but also the killings from the murderer's point of view. If this happened to me, this would drive me bananas.
Yeah.
But it's going to make for a cool game.
We'll also say that, like, for some reason, a teeny part of, like, either your upper spine or, like, your brain area needs to be transplanted. And that's
like the brain stem or something.
Yeah, that's the serial killer's part that gets transplanted in, right? And then all the other organs are the different victims from the people he's killed. And so those the brainstem gives you the killer's point of view, while the organs give you the victim's point of view, and it all adds up. And you could like maybe there'll be like video game mechanic moments where you are having an inner monologue with all the voices in your head type of thing, and then like for each victim, that victim has like things to say to you while the killer is trying to misdirect you and stuff, you know, while you're like trying to solve the
and I think on top of this, so we're gonna add some meat on these bones here. We're gonna say it's gonna be, do you want, I don't care either way here, third person or first person?
I think third person, but really tight, just right on the back of his head.
So I'm thinking it's third person. I think we're going to do it where you're going to be entering and you're going to be seeing clues. But the way it's going to work is, I don't know whether we want to have detective vision or not. That's usually one way people go about it, is you press a button and it lights up everything that you can touch.
It's killer vision, right? And so you could see the past. Where
I was thinking as you walk through and get closer, you would hit memory. So instead of killer vision, it flashes back to where you're almost in the footsteps watching it happen. Almost like Tacoma, you know what I'm talking about, where they
Yeah.
rewind and you can see everything, but like that, where it's a flashback showing rough images.
I think it would kind of work like Detroit Become Human, where you investigate with the killer vision, quote unquote, and the killer vision just shows kind of like where things happen, like footsteps here, someone fell here, but it's very like not complete. And then when you piece it all together and find all the clues, it'll all come together, and then you'll get a cutscene, a flashback from the killer's point of view of what exactly happened, and that's like where it goes into the past type of thing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so you're going to be investigating, let's say, 5 different killings. I mean, how many organs can you lose? And over these 5 killings, as you investigate them and you try to piece together what's happening, because you can't, for some reason, you can't rest until all of this is figured out because of everything going on in your body. So like once you get off work, you try to go to sleep dealing with everything, and you find that you keep having these visions. And the only way it feels like you can go and stop these visions is to go investigate and bring closure. But as you start investigating, you're leaving behind evidence which either feels like it's the victims or the killers. And because of that, the police start to try to think that there was another accomplice involved that's related, and they're trying to chase you down. So I feel like the main conflict resolution is going to be you trying to solve it before the police get to you, because they'll never believe.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, here's a twist at the very end. So you figure out the 5th murder, right? And you're about to come across the ending, and then you get another vision, one of the inner monologue things, and it's the killer. And then you're like, there's a 6th victim, right? And then that's where you meet the cop that's been chasing you, and you like beg this cop to do the transplant that like you.
So let's say on the 5th, so we'll do this. So on the 5th investigation, it's been ramping up and you've been evading and they're hot on your tail. And on the 5th room, it's getting close. And this is when you actually get caught. And you go through and you're talking to them, and maybe you're putting in all this evidence and all these personal details that only the victims or the killer would know, to the point where they actually start to check over, and you're begging them. So you look at your records, and then from there you can befriend and get the cop on your side, right?
Yeah. And here's what's going to happen. It's that when you got into that accident, you needed these 5 transplants immediately. But there was more parts of the killer's body, his organ. There was one organ that wasn't transplanted because yours was fine. And so they didn't actually complete that transplant because you didn't need it. And it was his heart, right? And this is the organ of his last victim that somehow, if you figure this out, it unsolves everything, and it all comes together when you solve the 6 victims' death or whatever. And the police don't even know about the 6th victim yet. Like, this is going to uncover like a bunch.
So then at the 6th victim, we'll do this. So you find out the 6th victim, and that leads you, the 6th victim was actually killed at his residence. Let's say that, the killer's residence. And at that point, the cops need you because they try to send people in and it's booby trapped. They keep getting killed. They keep getting hurt. So now you need to go in using your flashbacks to somehow get through and remember how to get into his vault where the last killing happened.
And not just that, since you got your heart transplanted unnecessarily even, that
this is such a video game now. Give me his heart. Are you sure? I'm sure. I needed to solve this to finally rest.
That causes the killer's like brainstem thing to like get even stronger, because now you've completely become what he was right before. Like, you're pretty much not even you anymore. You're literally this other dude.
It's that old philosophical. It's that old philosophical question, where if you have a car and you replace every part of that car over time, is it still the original car?
Oh, kind of like recently where in WandaVision, Vision said, if we replace all the parts of a ship and put it back, is it the same ship?
Yeah,
Vision said
that's
that.
exactly
Yeah,
that's a philosophical question
that was by Vision
that we're
from
that we're playing
WandaVision.
with.
Yeah, yeah.
It's older than that, but yes.
No. Vision is the guy who said it. But while you're going through this killer's house that's booby trapped or whatever, you at that point, that's like when you lost your like the character's like sense of self is just gone at that point, and now you are the killer again, and he just like you just walk through this house and you know where everything is and you're pressing all the buttons, right? And then you get to the vault, and I guess this is where there'd be like an inner monologue portion of the game where you have to fight the killer's conscience back to get control of your own body again. And maybe you win, maybe you lose. Maybe the game, you never find out. Is he the killer or is he the bartender, the humble bartender that was just doing his
that'd
job?
be cool if you don't know. So maybe there's like a scene where he starts where you go in and there's different harvested organs that he's had. And then he tries to take you over by maybe stabbing some of the other organ. That'd be some fucked shit. Like you start stabbing a kidney, hits your gallbladder. But so
no,
we're going to be collecting.
Vault, you get into the vault, and what it is, you go through all these like past victims, and you're like, oh shit, he's been doing this for a long time. And then you find it. You find the old skin suit of an old man.
I don't know why. Like, I'm fine with organs and everything. I hate skin suits.
So this dude is actually
especially
the
faces.
Old man, and he got a different person's skin.
Yeah, like this isn't the first time he's done this.
Yeah,
some like Orochimaru stuff.
Replacing parts of his body, including his own skin, periodically throughout his life to prolong this guy's life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. This is the most in-depth we've gotten story. We haven't made a game yet.
Yeah, so I was going to tell you, we can go back now. Third person. You use the flashbacks to do some kind of like killer vision to see everything, and you're going to be investigating. And as you pick up more pieces, you're going to add them together, where there's going to be an external dialogue that your character is going to have that's going to speak, that's going to be piecing it all together. And once you have everything, you're going to have some key pieces of evidence that you're going to put in order, and then it will then narrate the scene for you. Between that mechanic, there's going to be other mechanics where you're going to have to run. And while running away from the police, the killer's going to be talking to you about how to escape to leave the minimal amount of evidence, because the killer doesn't want to be caught either. So if you run too loud, that's going to happen. If you leave too many tracks, that's going to be something that they'll talk about, so that you have to leave in such a way that while you're in there, you have to gather the maximum amount of evidence while leaving the minimum amount of things. So if you rustle things too much, the others are going to catch up on that. So maybe you'll have, do we want to do it timed maybe, where there's a mechanic where you have less I don't like timers actually, so I'm going to throw that out the window. Whenever someone puts a timer on me, my anxiety spikes.
I think it's just going to be the routes you take have different
maybe moves
on the story.
Yeah, or what if you're loud, you have less moves, like less things to investigate. And if you have less things to investigate, it'll be harder to put the story together. Does that make sense?
I like that. Yeah. I think it's going to be like maybe everything in the room that you investigate has an invisible cost to it, where you investigate this thing, it actually takes off 8 of your 10 moves, right? And then you investigate 2 more things. One might be too much, one might be too little or something, and then maybe you could even investigate 2 more things. But it's all invisible to the player.
And
but they all have their own worths.
So it's going to be invisible, but to introduce to the player that there is going to be something coming, there's going to have to be an introductory mission, but I'm thinking it'll be something like, I hear sirens in the distance.
Or
I think they're getting closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I think they're getting closer. And then the
Yeah.
next warning would be they're right on top of us. If I've got to move, I either got to get out of here now or get one more thing, or I'm going to get caught. And then that's when you have to get out
Make
of
the
there.
decision. Yeah, for sure. I also think it would be cool if there was a mechanic where if you're in trouble, there's like options like, oh, maybe I should go up. Like you're running away from the cops, right? And maybe I should go down this alley, go up this ladder, or jump over this fence. And then like you don't know what to take. But then like while this is happening and you're making a decision, the killer's voice will come into your head and be like, I could get out of here for you. Just let me take over. And you let him take over. But like if you do that too much, like he'll take over like much sooner than he's supposed to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or it might lead into violence or make it so it's more difficult. I almost want there to be also, like, since there's going to be some dialogue options here when you're talking to people during your day job and everything, because you can also investigate and maybe put color together about the stories and the killers, because it's a thing that's happened in the area. So people are going to have things because they're going to be learning about it, almost the way that it happens in the United States, where when someone died, not to drop it, but like when that woman died, everyone was kind of in on what was happening, right? So what if there's two different ways that you can chat, where you can be a bartender and you can chat them up normally and gain rapport, or you can be a killer and intimidate them and kind of make them feel nervous and then find out, you know what I'm saying? Like almost like not a yin and yang sort of, so to say, but two different charismas to get what you want.
Yeah, it's like the Fable, like dark or light side type.
Yeah, I just hate like minimalizing it to intimidate or compliment. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's just the other person's personality taking over is more what it is, right? I like that. And I think there should be like something that indicates, oh, you've let the killer take over too many times. It might affect your decisions going forward. So maybe if you let the killer take over too often, maybe your decisions start being more limited, or just you only just get violent, or like more like rash decisions are made. But if you keep refrain from doing those type of actions, so you'll have different options to
we're going to need a foil to help out, because you can't just talk to your clients or your customers and then be like, you seem different today. I think now we're going to have to introduce a partner into this, and like a romantic interest. And that romantic interest is going to know what happened and is probably going to help you get to the investigations and everything like that. But they're also going to comment on whether you're changing a lot or not. You know what I'm saying? So if you embrace more of the killer's aspects, things may happen that way, where you're going to have someone close to you commenting on these things happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, something like, you left late last night and you didn't come back for hours. And you're like, what? And then you're like, oh, so because I've been embracing more of the killer instinct, now things are happening outside of my control that I don't know anything about.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea of this love interest is actually not like a serious girlfriend, but maybe she is, or he is, just someone that's always at the bar every night, and every once in a while they'll have a moment together, like they're like good friends that sometimes sleep around, but she's more like a regular that comes by and they just
so just not a romantic interest that's not serious.
Okay. And they'll just like talk it up, and like they'll be there at the game I think will be like separated into multiple days, and at the end of each day, after everything that happens investigating the day, at night you be a bartender at your regular day job, and you just kind of like, that's your investigation conversation part of the game, where you just talk to people at the bar, you talk to this girl if you want, and then you just get information. And it's kind of just like, I guess the bar would be kind of like when you go back to your ship in Mass Effect, or when you like,
right,
it's just like your base where you could just gather information, learn more if you want, and then there's some like story and conversations you could have.
And it's going to be a break from the tension, because the game's going to have tension just about everywhere else. And the investigation parts where you're looking for the victims, there's going to be tension. When you're chatting with patrons at the bar, there could or could not be tension. You can steer it either way. And then at your apartment, maybe you can do research and everything like that into it. Maybe that's how it's going to start for the killings, is every chapter is going to have research where you just look it up, or you're going to, and then have memories from there. And then the puzzle elements are also going to be, in the investigations is going to be, as a recap, you're going to have a certain amount of moves to investigate everything. But then also the other part of the puzzle is going to be on your exit. Depending on how you exit, it's going to impact the next chapter. Okay, so what's this game looking like? I think we usually talk about this later on, but I feel like this game's going to be like a rock solid 8 to 11 hours, 12 hours.
I was seeing it more closer to like 14 to 16.
We could do that too, but we're both on the same page here, where it's not going to be a 40, 50 hour epic. There's no reason to outstay its welcome.
I also think that in terms of graphics, I think it looks good, but it's not like, damn, look at these graphics. You know, it's like, it has good graphics, pretty realistic, but it doesn't look fucking incredible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so it's got good graphics. We're going to make this a tiny but potent game. The music, I think, is going to change depending on where it's at. At the bar, I think it's going to be more of a calm, easy bar. It's not going to be a bar at a club. It's not going to be a nightclub bar. It's not going to be a bar where there's EDM playing. So I think it's going to be nice, relaxing music. A bar with regulars, so to say. It's not going to be a cantina or anything like that where it's themed.
Yeah. I kind of see it as like an old school kind of like wooden tables, bars, stools, and all that. And they have like classic rock playing, but like really quietly. And it's just like, just a regulars bar. It's a bar where everyone around there knows each other and goes there every night type of thing.
Right. So, and the rest of the music, the investigation is going to be tense instrumental music. And then it'll be different musical cues from there. And there's going to be some silence. Be
based in Cuba? Because then we could just have a Cuban music theme.
You could do it that way. I mean, this game could be based anywhere. So if we want to, we can do that. Then it'll be even tighter because we're going to be doing this over an island.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be a huge city. So how much are you willing to pay for this game?
Sounds like a $60 game, maybe $50 game.
Okay, I could see like 50. For some reason, that $10 really makes people go like, hey, I'll give it a try. Yeah. But $60, they're all of a sudden they're like, well, between Halo and between this game, people like start to decide.
Well, I mean, I say 60 because I don't think it's a $70 game. But I think it's a $60 game. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially when we get to developers, because I have one of them being more of a higher price point versus others.
Right. Okay. So that works for me. So we have it at 50. Now, get your timer out because we're going to name this game.
And go.
Transplant.
Transplant it is in 5 seconds. 5.7 seconds.
So Transplant is a game where, as a bartender, you are going home one night and then get hit by a car. You get several of your organs are damaged and you get transplanted. But you find out that your organs are from the victims and a killer who killed them. You start getting flashbacks that lead you to discover the mystery of what happened those nights and what the killer planned to do, and get unraveled into something you never knew in Transplant. All right, we have a game here, Jay. What do you think? Would this be a game you'd want to play, and is it fun?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I like mystery solving games, and this seems like a interesting take on one.
Yeah.
There's a game that I want to play that's kind of like this called Murdered Soul Suspect. And I've tried replaying that game so many times. Just something about it, man. But this could be a better version of that.
Right. I think this would be a game I'd want to play. Knowing that it's like 14 hours, it's nice, potent content. It's not anything that it's not going to wear out its welcome, and it's going to be an interesting story. So it'll be a side regard for me, which would be like a nice palate cleanser based on all the Japanese beast taming, violent games that I play where I'm in an RPG setting, swinging swords and stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to ground me in a little bit more of reality, even though it's kind of out there. Now that we have a complete game, what game studio do you think would make Transplant the best?
All right. So I'm going to stay away from the obvious for a while. But let's start with the first one because I mentioned it earlier. They're the guys that behind Murdered Soul Suspect. Airtight Games, just because Murdered Soul Suspect, the whole idea is that you were just recently killed. So now you're like, no, you were almost killed. No, you are killed. You're like a ghost, and you're like investigating this murder of yourself as a ghost type of thing, and then you get like weird ghost powers and shit. So that could translate somewhat, you know?
Right. I am going to take the low-hanging fruit. Quantic Dream.
Yeah.
Easy.
100%. But that makes it a $70 game immediately. They don't make budget games. Yeah.
They don't. They go all in.
Exactly. I want to give it to... I mentioned these guys a lot because I loved their game. But Big Bad Wolf Studio, published by Focus Entertainment, they made the game The Council, which was like an episodic murder mystery type game. That's like a Telltale style type deal, but it had RPG mechanics to it, which was really, really cool. But yeah, I love The Council, and I want to see more stuff from them.
What if we gave it to Telltale Games? What if this is their first like game coming out of it after everything they went through, the new studio? And this is just so dark. They're like, we've made our own IP and here it is.
Right. For sure.
You got another one for me?
I do not.
And with that, our 176th IP has gone gold. We hope you look forward to this experience that probably will release. I'm going to call it. You can write to @poundgames@gmail.com if you have anything to patch into the game we created today. Also, give us feedback. And double also, if you see our games out in the wild, email in with that. Say where you find them. Jay and I often text each other when we see our ideas come about in the real world. We are still learning how to make this show better, and your feedback really helps. We have a Patreon. If you'd like to back our ideas, please head over to patreon.com/wearenotgamedevs. Patrons receive episodes 2 days early and an extra podcast at the beginning, which you caught the tail end of our conversation at the beginning of this episode. That's patreon.com/wearenotgamedevs. If you liked our show, why not subscribe and give us all the stars on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Store, Spotify, YouTube, and more. If they ask for a review instead of reviewing our show, become your inner game critic and review Transplant, the video game we just created. Thank you for joining us today. We will be back next Friday with another new IP. Wow. Again, my name is Alex Gonzalez.
And I'm J.E.
Thank you, and please remember that we are not game devs.
Because this game is called Transplant, we definitely need to have one song by the band Transplants in this. I don't know if you're familiar with the Transplants.
I was thinking that I was talking. I do mess around with my partner that I was talking like Jamie Tart. And then you I pay. Kaylee.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
When I was a little sexy baby.